John, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Eric.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, let's just cut to the chase. you, I met you doing F class. You were shooting F class for a while,
Yes.
but I'm pretty sure that was not your first rodeo. What were you doing before that?
No. Actually, just prior to that, I was doing tactical, and prior to that, bench rest for several years. So a lot of roots in shooting in bench rest.
Short range bench
And I
rest?
just kind of carried it over. Yeah, short range, 1 and 200 yard.
Okay. That short range bench rest is kind of pretty interesting in the sense that, I mean, you guys have to stack one hole or one bullet on top of the other 5 times to be somewhat competitive, right? Because that still doesn't guarantee you that you're going to win the ag. Can you explain
No.
in short detail how bench rest works?
Well, yeah, basically, I mean, the caliber of choice, of course, is a 6 PPC. The platform is 10.5 pound for light class, 13.5 pound for heavy class. And you basically have 7 minutes to shoot 5 shots in that little hole in either weight class. So things have to be pretty accurate. And of course, the nemesis is always the flags in the mirage, of course, to perform well. But yeah, the platform is a 10.5 pound gun, and very interesting the different builds that were used and where it actually came from. In my situation, I ended up using redwood stock to get the weight down and to absorb vibration. And the tracking is really, really important as well. So how you handle it on the bags, how you time your shooting, yeah. And of course your loading techniques and bullets. Sort of the same thing we do in F class.
Do you still shoot F class?
I haven't been, after the 2017 Worlds, I sort of kind of got away. I mean, COVID came in and kind of shut things down, and sort of, winding down from it. I traveled extensively shooting it with Brian Litz with the Michigan club, Michigan team. Been back and forth all over the country, Really enjoyed it. It's very challenging, but I did well. Very happy with it. Developed a lot of products for it, and just like, okay, time to move on, So now my playtime is archery. So I'm shooting indoor and 3D.
Dude, how'd you get on my freaking live stream?
Well, I just hacked it. But I went to Creedmoor Sports and got the bullets and brass with the code that you gave me. And I need a scale now.
Dude, you are making me age so fast with your BS. However, you are in luck. They have a TRX 925 scale. If you use Cortina 925, you can get it for $249.95 all the way through the 15th of May. Now, get off the freaking live stream.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
I remember your FTR rifle and some kind of derived from yours. I think Keith Trapp still shoots your setup, the kind of like the bench rest stock. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's kind of when I actually got involved with F class. The first thing I looked at the rifles, and it's like, man, these things are sling guns. The stocks are designed with a lot of taper in the butt, heavier, just really not conducive to tracking, in my opinion. And it's like, okay, this needs to be a bench rest stock. And I looked at the bipods. The bipods are set very high, and so the center of gravity was very high. And I thought, well, let's lower the center of gravity and and do a bench rest style platform. At that point, that was after the 2013 Worlds at Whittington. I went to Bob Scoville to have a stock made. I said, Bob, you've been doing the bench rest, which his stock is basically balsa wood with carbon fiber. The weight is like 23, 24 ounces, super light, extremely stiff. And basically all he did was add an inch to the keel height. And at that time, we went with the recoil system, which made sense to me. And I was able just to put my receiver in a standard barrel, etc., into the platform. One other thing I looked at is the Phoenix bipod. That came from the 2013 Worlds as well. And the first thing was, man, it's sitting way too high. And so we made a lowering kit for it. Really got the whole platform lowered down, so you had a very low CG. Looked at the rear bag. We were playing with different materials that the bipod rested on, how it tracked. And basically, when we shoot the rifle, it just stays in the black. The recoil is beautiful. You're able to not move off target like the other platforms would move you a target and a half to the left, if you will, if things weren't correct. And so that whole platform really, really projected what we were doing for accuracy. Able to get back on the target, shoot small, and yeah, it was awesome. Still is. The stocks, I couldn't really get a lot of them, so I basically sent the stock to Will McCluskey, and he had it copied, and he actually makes the wooden version of that platform for me now, which Keith actually won the first Southwest Nationals with the wooden one. The last one, he had a newer version. I went to a Scarborough, which is also, Scarborough used to work for Scoville. And so Scarborough made his own version. Kind of couldn't get those anymore. He had a heart attack, and it's just like, okay, so we can't get them anymore. But yeah, Keith is now using both of those for his shooting. Doing well.
Yeah, he's doing really well. He's he's killing it. So
he's a rock star.
Again, your setup looked totally different. It looked like a bench rest setup, and I remember everybody that would shoot it, and I don't understand why it hasn't. To me, as an F open shooter, I look at that and I go, that makes sense. Like that's what I would shoot if I was an FTR shooter. That's what I would shoot. I wonder why more people haven't done it.
Well, maybe they're not looking at it the way we were looking at it. We really went after it on the Michigan team with Brian Litz. I built Brian a rifle. He went to Wisconsin, went over there, and he won the whole event with his brand new rifle. Real happy. But yeah, it's low profile. It's lightweight, structurally sound. And the recoil is just spot on. You're just not moving off target. So, yeah. And the other stocks that are made, you have a weight problem, The materials you're using are heavy. And so, yeah, it's in FTR, being able to get the weight down is super critical. So the stocks that are made are just heavy. They're, I've seen some of them 3-4 pounds. And it's too heavy to make weight. I actually took my titanium receiver and put it into one of the stocks, and it was ridiculous weight. I'd go to weigh in, I'd be 2-3 pounds light, And but at that time, the reason I did it, I was using a 32-inch barrel, trying to get all the speed I could out of the 308. And but you really don't need that. It works fine at 29 inches, 28 even. But yeah, the performance and the trackability is just, it's just awesome. That's the way it is.
Yeah, it just seemed that way. And again, I'm not an FDR shooter, but if I was, that's kind of what I would look at. Now, you mentioned Brian Litz because you guys had a team together, or I guess he had a team. Who had a team? Who was? There was a lot of you on Team Michigan, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Well, when Brian moved to Michigan and he got more involved with bullet design with Berger, getting more and more people involved with it, he started the Michigan FDR team. And so we developed that group. We have a lot of members. And from Brian, his experience in sling shooting, et cetera, and shooting period, we just developed the rifles, developed the loading techniques, changed the bullets around a little bit. It was just amazing how we're able to accelerate. Brian is just a tremendous wind reader. It really helped. Matter of fact, like Eric Stecker from Berger at the time came up to Michigan shooting grayling. I loaned him a rifle to shoot. He beat me by 1 point, took the event. But at that time, we actually discussed the difference between the 200 hybrids, the 215s, etc. And I got together with Eric and Brian. I says, well, and I was making bullets at that time as well. And my bullets were a little bit more streamlined. I said, how about you take the front off from the 215 and put it on the 200, which the 215 is like a 17 or 18 ogive, so it's much more streamlined. And so from that, we got the 20X, very high performing, low BC or high BC bullet, and so it's kind of developed from there. But yeah, the Michigan team, we did very well, very successful. I think I was building most of the rifles for all the people. A lot of our stocks ended up on that team. But yeah, it's just very successful. We did a lot of winning.
Now, Brian, coming from the, sling shooting background, I don't even know how to say this, but they don't focus as much on reloading as much as we do in F-class. Was that the case with Brian, or was he kind of like more of a bench-rest F-class shooter in his reloading techniques?
Yeah, he was pretty good. He's pretty thorough. He had all the tools to do the proper weight, charges, and yeah, he's pretty finicky. Yeah, Brent. He does very well.
Yeah, I figured he would be, again, just because of his background. Again, I've talked to a few sling shooters, and they and I get it. Their targets are big, and their hold is probably the majority of what they need to worry about. But again, if I was to shoot sling, I'd probably just load ammo just like I load for F class anyway.
Yeah.
So you. Obviously those rifles had your actions in them. Which action were you guys using in those rifles?
Well, it's basically just our standard short action with a square tenon, if you will. And I added 300 thousandths to the end for more thread contact. So yeah, it's basically our standard action, which is pretty cool because we're using what I sell to people for hunting for F-class, and it's shooting well. We still do that.
Did they have a blind mag, or were these? You guys put a follower in there?
The bottom is flat. I mean, there's no magazine. Let's put it that way. And we use like the XP cut for recoil. If I have a couple here, but I don't have one of those. But it's just the bottom is not cut out. So, and we changed the spring around a little bit, and but basically it's the same action we sell for our hunting application.
What did you change on the springs?
The weight. I'm constantly playing around with how much impact energy I wish to have. So some of the bench rest stuff, say we get down to like 17 pounds, and with the primers we're using, you sort of need to be up in the 24 to 27 pounds to make it function properly. That was another area in the loading is that. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, typically people want fast lock times and things of that nature. That's kind of a selling point. But seems like in competition, we're just going for really heavy springs to make sure that we hit that primer, with enough force so that we don't have any inconsistencies. Yeah.
I mean, what in the beginning we used the large primer brass and the large primers in the 308, and they had like a 25 thou wall thickness in the primer, and their energy output is good, but because we're loading them pretty hot, it just would open the brass up after 2 or 3 firings. And so we ended up going to the small primer brass, which has more material and more integrity. The energy output of the primer is still the same. You're getting the same burn quality, and you just don't blow primers. So, but yeah, you still need to be in that 25-pound area for impact to light the fire.
Did you guys put cone bolts on those actions, or were they?
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, I do the cone bolt and standard, regular extractor. Yeah.
What about triggers? How light were you guys running these triggers for FDR?
Well, actually, in the on the USA team, we sort of mandated 4 to 5 pounds. I ran like 4.5 pounds with mine. Too light.
Pounds or ounces?
Ounce and a half just doesn't seem to work. Ounces, I'm sorry. Yeah, too light, like ounce and a half bench rest style doesn't work.
Yeah, I figure you guys were running heavier triggers than we are just because of all the movement that you guys have to deal with. Still 5 ounces is fairly light, but some open shooters don't like them as light as I like them, but whatever works. So the 220X, let's talk about that bullet a little more, because it seems to be doing a lot of winning in FTR. But I've heard, again, this is things that I've heard, and people say, well, it's a bullet that's a little bit more difficult to make shoot, but if you can make it shoot, you're going to do really good with it. Have you experienced that in the sense that it's harder to make shoot?
No, not at all. I mean, it was pretty easy, really. Just you can run it 3 into the lands. You can run it 3 to 5 off. Some guys are running more off, and 44 grains of powder. Just simple, very simple. I just never really experienced any problems with it. There wasn't that much difference between the 200 hybrid or the 20X, in my opinion.
What twist rate would you guys, or would you recommend for the 220Xs?
Just a 10. 10 twists is fine, yeah. 10 twists in a 308 seems to work everywhere,
Yeah.
And like I say, the length,
and you said about a 29.
Yeah, you can be 29. I mean, the problem is the rifles typically are a little heavy, and so you have to go a little shorter. But like I say, I experienced all the way out to 32, and you can even be 28. It'll work. But we typically are right now run sort of 29-inch barrels that fit the weight class and everything for the rifles and stocks that people are using.
Yeah, I see. Now we talked about the action. We talked about the bullet. Brass. I assume you guys were running Lapua brass.
Correct. Yeah, correct. And yeah, the brass is an area where people sometimes miss a couple things. Like what I would do with my brass, basically start out with brand new brass. I had Dan Warner make dies for me that when I resized, I only resized the body like 2 to 3 tenths, so that I would have a very comfortable fit into the chamber. Abjuration time would be lessened. Sealing would be quicker. So basically, I would not do anything with the brass other than basically I was resizing the neck, if you will. And 3 firings, you could shoot it 3 times with doing nothing but resizing the neck. Once you got past that, then you just do an anneal on the neck again and start over again and keep on going. So you get a lot of firings off that brass.
And you guys never had problems with extraction, clickers, or any of that?
No, the click is really in the action. If you have a receiver that maybe the cam, extraction cam is not cycling right, you might be a little loose, say, and then you get a click at the top. But if the brass is getting work hardened, you can have a problem getting it out. So brass getting used too much, I would say. So I just didn't experience any of that with our stuff. The other thing we did in preparations is using the IDOD neck turner, and that really helped on concentricity, as you well know.
Yeah, I use the same neck turner, and it's I don't know. For me, I find it easy to use and very accurate in a sense that, because all the neck turners out there only turn the outside. In reality, the bullet sits on the inside. And so anyway, I use the IDOD neck turner as well. Very, very easy to use. I like that it's fast. I can turn a lot of brass really fast. I don't have to worry about it too much. Yeah. Now, the actions that that's kind of your FDR chapter. You moved on to archery, but are you doing any extreme long range? I know I had Mark Fox here, and he talked about doing some things with you on extreme long range.
Yeah, working with Mark on the different cartridges that were developed, we needed a larger receiver, a larger bolt diameter, and so I think maybe the first one I did was what we call the 8X, which is a shorter version, 8 inches with a large bolt diameter, 1-inch bolt, larger body. Then we did the 10X, which is the same platform, only longer, 10 inches. 10 inches at the time because my wire machine would only cut 10 inches in depth. I now have a 12-inch capacity, so we can do much bigger. But then of course, with the Colossus, we did the 20X, which is really 2-inch action with a 1-inch bolt and to handle the large capacity. I have one other one. This one here we're just doing. I don't know if you can see that. That's a 50 BMG repeater that we're now doing. It kind of developed from the 20X version. It's basically a 20X that's full length, 12 inches. So pretty interesting platform as well.
Now, how many actions, whenever you go to make a brand new action, kind of like that repeater, how many, I guess what I'm trying to ask is how many actions do you have to potentially be able to sell before you decide to tool up and make something that large? Because, me being having a machine shop now, I understand it's really hard to make one-offs or two-offs,
Oh yeah, it is. It is difficult, but I actually do it. I don't worry about the time and what it costs to it. It's just kind of a sideline from our normal builds. And so you get an idea in mind and you think, well, why not do it, And yeah, it costs you a few bucks, but, you do it and see what happens. This one here, I hope we sell a lot of them. It'll be interesting. Not too many.
Who else
50
makes a 50
repeaters
BMG
out.
repeater? Oh, they don't make that many
Oh,
out there?
Geez, who are the people that are doing it? KDEX makes one. Geez, why can't I remember the most popular one that's being used by the military?
Well, Pierce Engineering
Failed
makes
me,
one,
I'm
right?
sorry.
So that's all that
Old
matters.
Yeah, we make one, that's for sure. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Now, Mark talked about getting some obviously the idea of making these cartridges is so maybe one day the military will pick it up and then, go from there. Is that I don't figure that's an easy thing to do, huh? To get a military contract for something like an action. I don't know anything about that, honestly.
Yeah, it could be. I currently have one with this platform, and so we'll see how that develops. But they're looking at, whatever they're looking at to approve that platform. So if it's a hot item, they're going to buy it. If it works for them. My platform is, here we got bench press quality in a monster action. And if that's what they want, here it is. I made this to fit into a KDEX chassis, and it's pretty awesome. It's fun to shoot. To answer your question about just building a one-off, yeah, it's a commitment. But I rather enjoy, doing the designing and going through the whole process. I drive the guys crazy at the shop doing it, but they do an awesome job.
Yeah, I figure somebody had to be unhappy about this.
Definitely. Yeah, the guys are up against the wall with their normal builds. So yeah, it drives crazy.
What's your lead time on actions right now? Everybody seems to be backed up quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm sure I'd actually have to talk to Jim, but I'm sure we're a couple months out easy. It's like we're pretty backed up right now. But yeah, we're doing it.
What made you want to get into action building?
That's a good question. What really started getting involved with the actions at that time, I was my business is building racing engines. I had full race engine shop, dyno, and the whole deal. And I spent a few years doing development work on cylinder heads for the factories. Like I did the Quad 4 Oldsmobile HO version, the Ford modular engine. I did work for GM and Chrysler doing some heads for them. But actually, it was airflow research and development was what I was doing, besides building the race engines. So then came along bench rest, and I got involved with shooting bench rest. And so the next thing is, well, why not chamber barrels? So I got involved with chambering barrels for myself. And next came accurizing Remington receivers. It's like, okay, I did that for a couple of years, and I said, I'm tired of this. Why don't I just make an action that doesn't require accurizing? And that sort of started it. I went to Dave Kiff actually helped me out with a friend of his helped me, Bob Walcott, with the first design of the receiver. I had to learn, of course, how to use the machines. We bought a milling machine. It's like, okay, how do you turn this thing on, and how do you feed it? That was kind of an interesting thing. But basically, yeah, so got tired of repairing Remingtons and decided just to build a hunting receiver. And so that's where it really started. Got a lot of help from Bruce Tom at that. It was a great help. Tom Dixon, who worked for him, helped a lot with me. Kelby's, we're all kind of friends, so Jim Borden. So yeah, it just started, let's make one. And once that happened, geez, here we are, build one, do you want to build another? So we have a lot of different designs.
Yeah, it's kind of, again, that's kind of how it happened to me with tuners. I made them just for myself because, I found it to be an advantage. And here we go. Now I have a machine shop just because of tuners. It's crazy how that happens.
No kidding. So what all products are you doing?
Well, I'm making tuners, and then I'm making some muzzle brakes that have a tuner on them. And right now we're testing dies. I have an idea for making resizing dies that are the way the way I've been making dies for myself. And I think I think a lot of people would find them useful for them as well. But right now we're going through the entire prototyping stage and the testing phase. I mean, I've been using them for close to a year now, but I just want them to be perfect, or I'm just not going to release them. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yep. No, that's what you have to do. It's got to work. That's
speaking of tuners, do you guys in Benchrest? Thank you. In Benchrest, there's a lot of, I don't know if you still do Benchrest, but there's a lot of people that use tuners. Did you guys ever use any in FTR?
No, never did. It just, hadn't developed at that point in time. Possibly the guys that are doing it now, I don't know. I really haven't kept up with the tuners on the F class.
Yeah, seems to be like everybody has one now on in F class. So you started making actions, hunting action, and of course, you being a Benchrest shooter, I'm sure it didn't take long before you decided to make your own Benchrest action. Is that? I assume that's how it worked out.
Yeah, I really didn't. I really never really went into the Benchrest area. I mean, the actions that were out there, the bat receivers, Kelby had really good stuff. At that time, I don't think I really ever did anything in Benchrest with a receiver. I did one prototype at one point that was a little different, but I just kind of stayed with a hunting application and kind of jumped then into, say, the F class application and tactical. I suppose the tactical got me going with the F class because the same receiver I used for tactical. We used Gary Alicio chassis with the receiver for tactical shooting. That was fun. Climbing up and down the mountains and chasing around the woods is fun. But yeah, so the actions just kind of developed from there and into the F class, and then of course the bigger stuff now. So yeah, and I do. I make them for open class as well, multi-flats for open class. Basically, the similar action, only a multi-flat, little different materials. So we do them both.
Do you shoot ELR?
I have an ELR rifle, but no, I haven't. I have not participated in ELR at all. I was going to, but it's just kind of like our cartridges that we come up with Mark, the Colossus, etc. I have the rifle for it, and because we can't get the brass anymore, it's kind of slowed that process down a little bit. So probably won't do it until I see something come around.
Yeah, they seem to have they haven't even settled on a cartridge yet. They seem to keep trying these different ones, and that's kind of where I'm at. I kind of want to build a rifle, but I kind of want to wait until they settle on something that's has good brass and ballistics and all of the above, so that when I build one, I don't have to build another one 6 months down the road.
Yeah, that's the problem I see, is you just don't have quality brass. Even the stuff that Robert Vestal's doing, I mean, it's cool and all, but it's standard thinking, and brass and integrity is really not there like what we were doing with the Colossus. So you need more pressure, you need the velocity and the pressure to reach the distance. So to me, it's kind of tough to do with what's out there. So I agree with you there.
Are you doing anything with that 338 enabler that Brian Brian's doing?
We built several receivers and guns for that application. We've sent a few to Europe that's being used military. Great cartridges. The thought process is there. You're able to use a machine bullet. Okay, it needs a longer receiver, so he's got basically a short, fat cartridge with a long bullet in it, machine bullet, so you can reach the distance. So yeah, it's a great cartridge. Good thinking there.
Does I guess I should have asked Brian this, but I didn't. So maybe the cartridge development. Is that simply just a cartridge, or does that include a full system? Meaning rifle, ammunition, barrels, all of the above.
Well, I think you're able to. Basically, it's a short, fat cartridge, right? So you're able to use the same magazines and everything in a standard chassis and in a standard action to make it work. So you can use it in long action. It works fine. Just a great idea. Very effective.
Yeah. So I guess if that thing ever gets adopted, you're probably going to sell a lot of actions. I mean, I assume Brian is using your actions for their test stuff.
I don't know what Brian is actually using right now, to be honest with you. Actually, I haven't spoken to Brian for quite some time, so no, I really don't know what he's doing, what he's using.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I made an assumption there. My bad. Anyway, moving on. Now you're doing archery. What is that? Is that kind of a relief valve from trying to chase all this precision, for all these years, or is archery kind of the same thing, just having a different way to deliver the projectile to the target?
It's really, really no different. I mean, the madness is still there, whether you're shooting an arrow or a rifle. I attack it really hard. I'm 81 years old, and it's a little bit more difficult for me, but I enjoy it. It's a fun thing I do every weekend. We shoot indoor right now. Soon the outdoor 3D is coming. I don't know how many compound bows I've purchased now. I've gone through a bunch of them. It's the same sickness, different day.
We're going to see a Pierce Engineering crossbow or a compound bow anytime soon?
No, I'll stick to the actions. That's it.
Yeah. I have a lot of friends that are doing the bow thing now, and it's I don't know. I've kind of looked into it a little bit, and I might get me a bow one of these days. I just want to go hunt with a bow. But right now, my next thing that I bought is an air rifle, and that's what I'm going to start playing around with for shortly.
Oh, that would be interesting. Yeah, that would be interesting. I often thought of that in small bore, but there's just not enough noise there for me.
How much noise could there be with a bow?
Well, it's actually quite noisy. It actually is. There's a fair amount there. Yeah,
air rifles have come a long way. I saw them at SHOT Show, and I was very impressed with what they can do. I mean, they have bench race competitions now that use air rifles.
Oh, it's really amazing. Actually, when I was in the Army in Germany back in the mid '60s, we put an air rifle range in the upper barracks. There's an old SS barracks, and so we shot a lot of air rifle there. It's big in Europe, and they're extremely accurate. Extremely accurate.
Yeah, I don't know how, people hunt with them. They do all kinds of things. But anyway, I can't wait to get mine because I think that's going to be a kind of I don't know if it's going to be a new chapter in my shooting career or if it's just going to be a little side gig, a little fun thing. But I just never know. It's whenever I go try something different, I just never know if it's going to be recreational or if I'm going to go full blown competition mode, which, as you know, it can be pretty expensive.
Well, if you're anything like me, it's going to be full blown. You're going to go after it.
And that is precisely what I'm worried about because,
Yeah.
And that's why I'm putting it off until after the World Championship, because I don't want to go get it right now, because I'm worried that I'm gonna go be shooting the air rifle instead of practicing for F class, because But anyway, you know what it's like.
Yes. Yeah, it's sickness. Well, we love it.
So what's next? Anything new coming up?
No, not really. Like I say, the newest for me is building this new action and 50 BMG action. That was quite fun. I have some more ideas that I'm working on that I may do, but for the most part, nothing too exciting, no.
Well, I'm sure you will think of something to build. Somebody who, I don't know. What could you tell somebody that's entering the sport, the shooting sports, and are looking to buy an action? What would you say something that they need to look for in an action, regardless of whose action it is, based on your experience?
Well, yeah, you look at the company you're buying it from for one thing, but in the receiver itself, you're looking for precision. You want tolerances nice. You want the function to be good. Nowadays, everybody is getting really, really accurate with their builds. So the precision is there anymore. I mean, we just have better equipment to work with. It used to be you were broaching the receivers. Now we're doing wire EDM. The machines have advanced. The machining process is advanced. The knowledge from building is advanced. So you're just looking at quality. And whether it's my receiver, a Bat, or a Borden, or Kelbley, or they're all building just really high quality actions for the application. It's good stuff.
You talk about wire EDM versus broaching back in the day. Can you just kind of give me a quick walkthrough of the operations that it take to build an action?
Yeah, I mean, basically you're starting with a piece of bar stock, and of course I won't go on to the broaching. Broaching, of course you have to have a broaching tool, and you're drawing it through the material to make the raceways. With a wire EDM, it's far more accurate. The tolerances are much closer. In our case, I just put in a new machine, and with 12-inch capacity, extremely accurate, Mitsubishi. Once that part has been wire cut, of course, backing up a minute, we get the raw stock, and then we do a heat treat. We machine everything hard, much more stable. Once the part has been wire cut, it then goes to what we call the cutting the thread area. We cut the opening helix, and then it goes into the milling machine and carves out all the contours that you desire. We're inspecting, making sure everything is straight. The bolts are made and inspected and straight. Everything is machined very close. So it's quite a process.
Okay, so the first thing you do is you I assume you have the bar stock. You drill a hole through it for the wire EDM. Correct.
We'll do a pilot hole through. We have a couple different processes. We'll drill a hole, deep hole drill, ream it to size, and then the other applications we're wire burning the whole profile. So that's just a simple hole through the middle, and then the wire feeds in and cuts the total profile. In our bigger receivers, that's the way we're doing that. So it just depends on the application.
I see. Well, sounds interesting. I've never seen an action being made. That's probably something I would like to do. It just interests me in how the different operations. how the different operations happen, because I'm sure there's multiple ways that you can arrive at the same conclusion, but it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's a process. It was interesting learning the process and fixturing, etc. Just a lot going on there to get it to do what you want it to do. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, John, I really appreciate this interview. It's been great. I know you're a busy man, so thank you for doing it.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much, Eric, and good luck.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Okay. Bye now.